Alright, welcome to another episode of Learning with Crimellgrim. Today we'll actually attempt at drawing a human, so let's get right to it. So I'll try and cover as many techniques of how to sketch something. I think let's start with this. So you start with a circle forehead, and I think that's the only thing that's sort of universal for everything. And then I would like to do a triangle for a chest, then another triangle for the waist, right? And this is your basic, like, alright, this is like a beginner way of doing a torso, right? Then you can just add on this stuff, circle, boom, triangle, and another. There you go. You have one arm. It might be too long. I'll see real soon whether or not the proportions are right or not. Since we already covered proportions, I don't really know if I will go too deep into it. I will explain if something is too long or too short, why it's too long or too short, right? There we go. Boom. Go. So I can already tell, like, that the arms are too long, right? But it's fine. We're just going for very simple standing poses right now. And first we'll do like a very simple kind of shape that you can go for. And we'll get more complicated as we draw more of them. But we'll stick with this pose for now. We'll angle the legs slightly so that it makes a bit more sense. We're drawing it. Okay. So let's say this is the start, right? Okay. First thing I'll change, the legs are too long, right? So we're gonna delete a little bit of it. Move it out of it a bit. Boom. There we go. Now they should be about the right length. With the arms and check. Okay. I think it's just this part that's too long. Most likely. Yeah. This is about the right length. Give or take, you know. Personal. I think it's personal preference at that point. If it's like almost exact. Like if it's a bit over this point, you know, it's not really a big deal. Like it's not too noticeable, so you don't need to worry about it. Alright, so this is how you can start sketching people, right? This can be your foundation, your baseline to draw people, right? I'm gonna make a new layer, right? And from this point, you can then draw onto this sketch. So that's what I'll do right now. If I were to now turn this into an actual character, right? I would probably, I'm gonna do a really simple thing and just, okay, this is a shoulder, right? Boom, boom. I think I'll make it male since it's like kind of shaped more like a man. Then this is the bum. Shoulder. Boom, boom. And just follow along and try and draw. This is also like what do you do in the sense where you don't have a reference, right? But you want to draw a certain pose or something. This video is gonna really help you with that stuff, because this just gives you the fundamentals to be able to just draw any pose you want, basically. My recommendation when sketching over your base sketch is to just make a new layer. If you're doing it on paper, then you will have to just erase it and deal with that part. Okay. Draw the chest. Now, with feet, it's a bit different. We drew triangles to begin with. That's mostly to just indicate where the what's it called? The back heel, where your heel is. But then our feet are flat at the end, so you have to draw them like this, right? It does like sort of give you an indication of what to do, but it's not complete. This pose is gonna look very stiff because it's just a standing person. Arms are like in an uncomfortable position too. This really wouldn't be a comfortable position to be in to begin with, but that doesn't matter. We're just since it's a practice drawing, to just get used to anatomy in general and how to draw people, you can do stuff like that. It doesn't matter if it doesn't look appealing or if it's stiff, as long as you're getting proportions right, it's all good, you know. I wouldn't go and make illustrations with poses like this, you know. Don't put in the time to like completely stylize a drawing when it's just like a standing image. If you're doing a illustration, you want to do like an actual image. You want it thought out properly. Okay, we'll give him ears. Give him some simple eyes. A little bit of a nose. And neutral face. And yeah, no need for hair at the moment. That was just so complicated. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the sketch layer. There we go. We have our first human, as you would call it, right? He's looking towards us, but his body is kind of facing the other way. Now you can do some tweaks here. You know, if you want them to be a bit more broad. I'm not gonna define his like musculature and body too much, because then it might be considered not safe for work, and I don't want that. So I will just keep it this way so that it's considered fine. You could technically put this arm behind this leg, and he is standing very awkwardly, right? There you go. Okay. There's a lot more you can add, right? So if you were to add a chest, right? You could do this, and add the stomach here, right? You could add side muscles here, yeah. Hooferly 2000 asks if I can draw a really good goat. I'm afraid that's not the theme today. The theme today is gonna be mostly just anatomy for people anatomy. Alright, so we did this kind of baseline. Now we're gonna do a different kind of baseline. So you can also start like this, right? This is a very common way of doing it. The reason why you do it this way is because it kind of helps you determine where the stomach is. Then you can just do this. Now, you can cheat at this point. If you don't want to mess around where to place the shoulders, you can just do this. Just draw a line, boom, triangles. And here you have, basically, you can just do a shoulder off of this, like so. It makes it really easier. And usually you use this kind of shape for a feminine body, because it's already like feminine in a way. So we'll go with a female kind of body afterwards with this baseline. But you can go male off of this anyway. No, I use drawing tablets for these videos. It is a Huion 19-inch. I don't know the full name. I could add that to the video description, I guess, once I upload it. Oh yeah. We'll do standing pose this time, but I'll do the arms a bit further apart. But this is already like a more advanced kind of sketch base, right? Where you're not doing proportions even to begin with. Like, you're not doing proportion lines, you're just going straight into the shapes. There we go. Now when you're drawing a female, be sure to do wider hips than for a male, and to make sure that the upper and lower part are kind of curving into each other, right? I might have to do the legs a bit different here, because if I make them face the same direction, it's gonna look awkward. So we'll have them facing the camera. It's gonna be its own kind of challenge in a way. There we go. I might be going a bit too fast for like people to follow along with this, because it's speed sketching. Definitely if you're like learning along with this, it might be too fast. But yeah, luckily the VODs exist, so you can just rewatch this, pause, or slow down the video. I might add the clip files, which is the program I'm using, Clip Studio, to the Patreon as a reward tier, but I don't know, I'll see. It depends if people want it or not. Gotta fix a little bit of the shape. Make this a bit curvier. This part. Sometimes it's tricky to get it right this way, because you're just skipping straight to shapes. There we go. Now the advantages of doing it this way over this way is that you basically are almost done with the drawing by the time you're done with the sketch, and you can just move on to line art. That's the advantage. It saves you time, but if you don't know how to do it, since this is more complicated to do off the bat, it might be a bit overwhelming. Alright, so here you can do this. You do your neckline. It doesn't matter if you start at the chest or at the head or wherever. People usually start at the head because when you start at the head and detail the head, then the main part of the body is done. Because whether or not your image is good or not really depends on how well you can draw a face, because people always look at the face first. So if you have a wonky face, then most people will notice that immediately. But if you have just like, I don't know, slightly longer one arm than other arm, then people might not notice. If you use a certain angle, you know. You can also hide certain parts, but if you hide the face, then the image becomes uninteresting. We'll do we'll just do an open arm like this. Okay, so this time the thumb is like this. The arm is spread. There we go. Yeah, good, right. If you don't know where the thumb would be pointing, just check your own arms and try to do the same kind of pose. Sometimes it might be hard to like imitate the pose you're trying to draw, but in a lot of situations it does help to just do the pose. Some people take pictures of themselves doing the pose, but it might not be an option. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Did I get everything right? Sort of. It's very rough, but it's mostly right. I think just for my taste, I would have this be a bit longer. First, let me move the down. So just slightly longer legs, I think, will be better. There we go. Yeah. Maybe. Okay. So when you start with this as your baseline, right? You're basically already done. To get to like a finished image, I guess let's just do like emo here. It's easy. Sadly, like it's hard to indicate that it's a female if there's no hair. You can do like bald. To the question whether or not I do commissions, at the moment I only take commissions if they're like big enough, because I'm trying to focus on certain projects at the moment that they don't give any monetary gain, but you know, it's good. So yeah, if you're thinking of commissioning, it's probably you're gonna have to be like a big commission, or either a big commission or a small one, and it's gonna take a long time to finish because I'm focusing on other things. Do slowness. Let's see. This maybe. Just a fast one. There we go. That's another one. They can do something in this too. Okay. Obviously, when you're done with the base you're using, you can delete certain parts and make it look more appealing. This ish. Obviously, this is not like a well refined, good looking sketch, but yeah, it's good enough to represent like what to do. Right. One more thing you can do. Anything. Okay. So this is like the second way. Add like this. Okay. Third way to do it is just straight up, just go for it. You know, and this is something you'll do once you like get comfortable with drawing. It's like you'll probably just do like one chunk, then you'll do another chunk, then you'll just right, do the legs. Almost done. Obviously, as you're sketching, I mean, I personally, I'm always like tweaking the sketch as I'm sketching. I'd be like, okay, I do this a bit weird. Let's try and make it better, right? And that's fine. You know. Always be tweaking, improving. You know, nothing has to stay the way it is. Just keep in mind to not spend too long on a sketch because it's a sketch. It's supposed to be done in a few minutes, right? If you can get a sketch done in about 5 to 10 minutes, that's good. Don't take longer than that because then you end up in kind of a situation that I'm in where I take forever sketching and then you just slow down so much that you can't really get things done, you know, in a proper, timely fashion. Okay. This is the other way. You just straight up, just go for it. I'll do an open hand again. Actually, let's do a clenched fist this time. Just so that you see that one too. Okay. Clenched fist. Very important. So this would be your thumb, right? Now, if you have the thumb on a clenched fist, it's usually like this. Here. There you go. A little bit. It's better.
Now arms, you have these bumps on this side. You can draw.
You can or cannot.
I see some people do, some people don't. It's depends how accurate you want your thing to look.
You know.
I'll probably have a episode on how to draw hands and stuff
At a later date. Because that kind of requires its own episode.
Hands are, arms and hands and stuff like that. Any body parts that you can draw is complicated enough to require its own kind of study session to properly understand.
And one study session for any limb of the
human body might not be enough to even learn how to do it properly. You might need, you might need like a week of just drawing one part of the human anatomy just to get a good feel for it. And even then, you might still think you don't know what you're doing.
Especially when you're starting off.
But yeah, the more you draw it, the more you're gonna
understand how it works.
It'll become easier, but there'll still be times when you get stuck, and that's when you grab a reference and try to copy it, just to get out of that kind of thing. And if you can't find a reference, it might take you hours to.
I think I'm just
never mind. I'll just try it again. So the thing I notice here is that one arm is longer than the other, so I'll just shorten. I don't know why though. They seem to be about the same, like when I just look at it, but I think it's because one thing has been drawn at a lower spot, maybe? I don't know. I'll see. I'll tweak. See what needs fixing. Okay. Got it.
okay. Let's see. What's wrong?
It might be this is simple as this.
I think that's it.
I think that is all I have to do. Kind of looks fine now. Erase these lines, these lines, these lines. I'll indicate a chest this time, just so we have like a idea for that too. So drawing a chest can be its own thing too that you can study. It really depends, since there's actually a lot of variation for breast shape and size. So just keep that in mind. If you're gonna draw females, make sure to study up on the proper, like, how it's supposed to be. I don't know if I drew a good one this time or not. I'm just gonna do like an indication.
They're not the best. They're there. Since I'm doing another female, it's important not to have too broad shoulders. Though there are females with broad shoulders, and you know, maybe that's what you want to draw. So it's fine if that's what you're going for, but if it's not what you're going for, then definitely keep that in mind, so you don't end up making a masculine-looking female passive.
Okay. Next part. The legs. The calves. Again, it's like we're facing this direction.
Keep in mind where the toe is on the foot itself when you're drawing fingers.
So a good way to do it is to just draw a circle, 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 circle.
Then
boom, 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 boom. Just delete the upper part.
now you have sort of fingers, right?
But kind of longer, so maybe lengthen it a bit. It might look janky this way, but you know, it's a good like basic start.
Feet kind of look weird.
Human feet, at least. That's it. Angles.
For the most part,
Most things you draw have an angle where
everything just looks weird regardless of what you do.
So don't be too bothered by it if you can't get it to look nice. Sometimes it's just not a thing you can do. Sometimes it just looks weird. And sometimes it's supposed to look weird from that angle. Just how it is. Yeah. Things look weird sometimes. It should be about right. Another boom, boom, boom. There we go. Just delete the top. Lengthen the line a bit if you want to.
it's optional. Right?
You can draw like nails if you want.
It's optional too, though.
Okay.
Let's see. Now here the thighs are a bit long, so I'm just gonna cut them a bit. Boom. Since we went straight into drawing something, I think
show you also. This is one way you can do knees.
The other way you can do knees is let me think. What was it again?
Circular, I think? Yeah, circular. So you can do it like this. So you can do like this kind of shape around the knee. Right? And you just delete the top and the side and the bottom. And you basically have like a kneecap shape. Then you also have on the side. So if this is the knee, right? Usually you have like a line here. Maybe like this. You can also do a knee like that. So that's usually more like or shooting than this. And then also you see this bone here. It's usually visible unless you
have a lot of fat covering it. Though I don't think there is ever like fat on that part. I don't know actually. I'm not sure.
Maybe there is. I don't know. I have to look at someone who's obese on Google just to check. So. Go. That's another bone. It's the thing below your neck. I forget what it's called right now at the moment. I'll probably remember later, but yeah. Keybone, maybe? We call it like a keybone. I think. Not sure. Not sure at all. I'll do another set of lonely eyes. I'll do some easy here and here.
There we go.
I guess since we're doing human anatomy, I can show you. There's many tutorials for this.
So here's another way you can sketch. So you can go like straight into it. So to reiterate, right? You can start with this, right? This first, and this second. Then, you know, and then at the end you go for this, just straight up drawing. And I'm not saying do that in one session, I'm saying do that first, get used to using a base, then you can get used to just drawing shapes from your base. Well, not from your base, but first get used to drawing a base with proper proportions, then draw shapes onto those proportions to actually get the body, and obviously you can do a full drawing from that point, from the sketch into the thing. As long as you have proper proportions, I think you'll be learning properly along the way anyway, how to draw stuff or something. The head and neck are a bit misplaced here, but it's fine. I'll do one more, just to be a bit more. So this next one is like an in-between of this, like it's gonna be 1.5 of this. So I'll do, okay. So let's say we start with this, right? Like we did before. And we'll do this and that. Then we'll do this. We already have the neck and stuff. Now, boom, we do this. Boom, we can do this. Okay. This. I did it before. As far as length goes, I think I didn't length it properly, but it's fine. I definitely didn't do the right length for this one. One thing you can do if you really want to save time is copy one side, paste it, click horizontal. I'm not gonna do that because that kind of defeats the purpose of learning. So yeah, you learn more drawing it again, and if you're drawing on paper, then you can't do it anyway, unless you use a mirror. Pro tip: if you wanna copy something on the other side, you can use a mirror. I think that's how they do it. Wait, is that how they do it? Would that work? No, I don't think that would work. Oh well. It is what it is. Boom. You can do it for legs too, right? Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Yeah. Since we're doing the same kind of leg facing, this is how you do it. Just if it's facing our way, you can do it like this. Always check that things are the same length.
if it's like the same type of body limb, then it should be the same length as the other one. So that might not necessarily be true for all people, all characters, but
I could cover. Yeah, okay. I know what to talk about next right now. Because I was thinking whether or not I should just
end here or talk about some more stuff. Okay. Obviously, this body shape isn't great, and it's not proportioned right. But, you know. It's alright. It's just this.
This is also a fast way to have a mannequin setup. This is what these are called, by the way. They're called mannequins, right? You put them in the pose you want, and then you just draw them over the mannequin. You can have more detailed mannequins or less detailed mannequins depending. And the reason why I sketch these is because obviously you're gonna save a lot of time if you draw something and then you see, oh, this doesn't look interesting enough or doesn't look right or something. It's easier to discard and start again or tweak a mannequin than it is if you're just going into drawing ahead, immediately detailing it, and then realizing the head angle is wrong, right? You want to avoid doing that as much as possible. Let me just move this around. Up. Okay. Okay. Right. So that's another one. There we go. Now I'm gonna cover another thing. So this doesn't have to always be the case. This is only if you're trying to draw like the perfect human being, right? Kind of deal. However, you can easily have like a character, right? Who has short, stubby arms. Right? And they have like a small body too. So you can have that kind of build, right? I think that there are like trogs and stuff like that in WoW that have exactly this kind of body type.
They have like giant arms for their body. It's shaped better there, obviously. I'm just doing like an example. Usually they also have like big heads for their body and stuff like that, you know. Maybe like a big, comically big nose, because they're supposed to be like comic, funny characters. Yeah. And likewise, you can have a character with like super long legs, super long and skinny legs. They might even not have feet, they might be like just spikes. Yeah. It depends what kind of character you're drawing, what kind of art style you're going for. I think this goes more into like art style and stuff. You can have like a character like this. So normal proportions don't always apply, is what I'm trying to say. Like you don't have to always draw like the way you think is the correct way, right? Making everything on this one skinny because it's the people. It's spiky. Yeah. Maybe their head is a bit more like this. Right. So these are two examples of doing a character a bit differently. I mean, you can have just a very long character, right? So you could take this same concept and just basically, let's see if this works. It's probably gonna work. So you put this here, right? Then you just take this, stretch it down. There we go. Now you just have a super long character. With the same kind of proportions, just like thin head and stuff.
There you go. I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to this episode. If you think I left anything out, or you're like wondering some other stuff, feel free to ask in the comments. Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.